It seems like creatives always get a bad rap.
From childlike tantrums and ridiculous green room requests to strange superstitions and even self-mutilation, it's clear that artists have plenty of strange habits.
But they've also made a pretty big impact on the world.
Hi, I'm Kate Rooney.
And I'm Jess Guffey.
And you're listening to Creatives Are the Worst, presented by Design Pickle, the leading flat-rate graphic design and creative services platform.
In this podcast, we'll be uncovering the fascinating myths and shocking stories behind the artists we love, or in some cases, love to hate, as we try to determine, are creatives the worst?
Hello, and welcome to Creatives Are the Worst, presented by Design Pickle. My name is Kate Rooney, and I need to take a shower. And also, I'm here with my co-host, Jess Guffey.
I feel like that was a little bit of an overshare with the audience, no?
Should we try that again?
Are you talking about personal hygiene? No. We're talking about personal hygiene now on the podcast?
I'm just looking at myself on Zoom and yikes.
I'm not going to lie. I did think that you were blotting your forehead with parchment paper.
Okay, talk about oversharing. You didn't have to tell people I was blotting my forehead already. That's cool. It's cool.
Everything's fine.
Yeah. Well, Jess, I was running late to recording this podcast originally because I was geeking out over a new design and web development tool that
I'm not surprised.
Why not just share with everyone? It's called Lottie, and it adds JSON animations to your website.
Wow.
That's all.
Kate and I have this whole debate because she's so tech savvy with that and is on product hunt every day, and I don't follow any of that stuff, nor do I know how it works. So thank you so much for the tip, but I have no idea what you're saying right now.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Hopefully someone out there enjoys that fun fact tip that you just gave them.
Anyone, please. If you've heard of Lottie, let me know, because I'm just playing around with it now. It creates animations, and they're very light files, so it doesn't add load time to your website, which is very nice.
Fancy
all
schmancy.
about that quick website load time, you know?
Gotta be when you're at Design Pickle.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Kate, are we ready to talk about this person today?
I guess so. I can't wait to hear who it is, because you've said it's kind of a heavy hitter. So
I just would like to preface yet again that I do not know why I do this to myself repeatedly. I don't
joke about that because I don't know why I keep doing historical figures that I know nothing about.
Why? Why is this the choice? And I actually didn't choose this one. I chose the category, and then our producer was like, "Ooh, do this person," and I was like, good choice. And then I was like, why did I agree to this? This is such a bad idea.
No, you're gonna kill it. You're gonna kill it.
We'll see. So, to start off, this person is one of the most recognizable names and faces in the world. They remade American culture. They are considered the world's biggest and socially significant pop culture icon. This person was the first female to have complete control over her music and image. She's also considered one of the most successful female solo artists of all time, and is the best-selling female recording artist, often put in the same category as Elvis and the Beatles.
What?
She is the queen of pop, known for her reinvention. Yes, Kate, today we are talking about Madonna.
What? I was gonna guess Taylor Swift. What a loser.
I mean, that's pretty good. That would fit with that description, I feel. Interesting that she's the first one that came to mind. I like that.
Madonna.
Yes, we are talking about the OG queen of pop, Madonna.
All right. Nice.
I would like to also preface this by saying, I always joke about this in the episodes, but there is so much information I can't even begin to describe. So similar to what we did for Prince, I'm not going to mention every single album or every single single she ever dropped, nor am I going to mention every single movie she was in or anything like that. We're just going to keep it pretty relevant with the stories and the controversies and whatnot. So if you feel like I'm missing something really important, let us know at podcasts@designpickle.com. But there is so much. It's scary.
Oh, man. I'm so excited. Wow. Madonna. Material Girl.
Are you a fan of Madonna? Do you care either way?
I mean, a fan. I'm ambivalent, but
agreed. That's how I
know that
was.
but she's obviously an icon and a trailblazer. So
Totally.
pumped.
Let's jump in. So, Madonna Louise Ciccone, very Italian, was born on August 16th, 1958 in Bay City, Michigan, a town that she once referred to as a stinky little town.
Oh, no. Wait, what's the name of the town?
Bay City, Michigan. Sounds really
sorry,
nice.
Bay City.
Whatever.
Yeah.
She was born to Catholic parents. Her mom's name was also Madonna, and her dad's name was Silvio Anthony Ciccone. She was dubbed Little Nani by her fam since she was a junior, and was the third.
Not a rapper.
It could be. I'm surprised no one's taken that. That would actually be a good rap name.
Little Naughty.
She was the third of 6 children, and she learned early on how to handle her role as a middle child. She often said, and has said since, she was the sissy of the family, and she used her femininity to get what she wanted in the family. So we can see a trend already there, but as a child, Catholicism played a large role. She has said before that there were always priests and nuns in her house growing up, and her mother was extremely religious. And I don't know how much you know about the future, but this is extreme foreshadowing to some of her more controversial works, because Catholic iconography, we'll talk about that more, but we can see kind of where it stems from if she was indeed surrounded by priests and nuns all the time.
Yeah, there's a lot of imagery in her music videos and stuff.
Exactly. So in 1963, her mother passed away of breast cancer at the age of 30. Madonna was only 5, and her mom was pregnant with her younger sister at the time. So they had to do a whole bunch of stuff to get the baby to term. Like, they couldn't treat it the way they would have if she was not pregnant. No. And because she was only 5 years old, she didn't really grasp the concept of her mom dying and didn't really have a chance to deal with it in a good way. And a lot of people, obviously she's a very heavily researched person and studied person, a lot of people define this as a pivotal moment for her because they say she was haunted by her mom's passive demeanor. I mean, her mom was completely incapacitated by the cancer, and that
by
kind
30? She passed away at 30?
30 from breast cancer. Young. It's ridiculously young, especially with 6 kids. I mean, that's
oh my gosh,
so sad. So because she witnessed her mom in such a fragile state, she has often said it made her more determined to have a voice. And she said, I think the biggest reason I was able to express myself and not be intimidated was by not having a mother. For example, mothers teach you manners, and I absolutely did not learn any of those rules and regulations. So it really had a profound impact on her. I mean, how could it not? And she's also been quoted saying, I was a lonely girl who was searching for something. I wasn't rebellious in a certain way. I cared about being good at something. I didn't shave my underarms, and I didn't wear makeup like normal girls do, but I studied and I got good grades because I wanted to be somebody. So you can see already the makings of, you know, we talk about this a lot, but mommy issues, parent issues.
Well, I had no idea she had so much tragedy in her life at such a young age.
Yes.
No idea.
I didn't either. I did not either.
And I think we do kind of see that a bit in the folks that we cover, is like astonishing tragedy in their lives that no one really knows about because you just see what's going on in the spotlight. Mm-hmm. I can't believe that she turned things around, but wow.
Yeah, that's a hard thing to overcome. And it affected her relationship with her dad, too. She was so afraid of losing him, in addition to her mom, that she often couldn't sleep unless she was near him for comfort, which, I mean, that makes sense as a child. I mean, your brain automatically goes to, well, what if I lose my dad, too? So in 1966, her dad, Tony, remarried their housekeeper, and they had 2 kids together. Now, Madonna, as you can imagine, was not a fan of this, and it really strained her relationship with her dad. But she referred to herself in this situation later as the quintessential Cinderella because her stepmom made her watch her younger siblings, and she really resented this and felt like she was being treated unfairly by her stepmother, and her siblings were favored. So who knows how much of that is true?
I cannot imagine if my mother passed away so young and my dad just married someone who, like, not just another person that he randomly met, but someone who's in their lives already.
Yeah, it's a little. I'm sure it happens more often than not, but it's kind of hard to swallow. So as you can imagine, this is when we first start to really see her signs of rebellion, from her clothing to what she did in her extra time. She was going to underground gay nightclubs and already starting to show signs of rejecting her religious background. But then, on the contrary, she was taking ballet lessons too at this time. And she was also getting really, really good grades. So while at school, she would do weird things like show boys her underwear in the hallway or do cartwheels down the hallway. But then she also was super, super high achieving and a perfectionist and a cheerleader while she was doing those things. So kind of a weird juxtaposition between personalities almost.
I don't know. You can do all those things and still be high achieving.
Totally.
I suppose.
Totally. So because she was a cheerleader and involved in ballet, she graduated from high school a semester early and received a full dance scholarship to University of Michigan. Yep. Your face right now is so funny.
I didn't know that she was a dancer either.
I didn't know that she was a dancer first either. So she's at University of Michigan and she receives an opportunity to study with the famous New York City Dance Theater, which she has since described as being extremely physically brutal. That gives you any indication.
We've all seen Black Swan.
We have all seen Black Swan, I can only imagine. But she was receiving different opportunities because people were recognizing her dance talent. And in 1978, she received an opportunity to perform with famous choreographer Pearl Lang. And because of this, because it was such a big opportunity, her dance instructor actually encouraged her to drop out of college to pursue a full-time career in dance. And she did.
Oh.
So she moves to New York City. She paid her rent with odd jobs like nude art modeling and serving at the Russian Tea Room, while also performing at the American Dance Center when she could. She also allegedly worked at Dunkin' Donuts and was fired for squirting jelly in a customer's face.
Allegedly.
She also...
for anyone who's worked in the service industry, though, I mean, haven't you always kind of wanted to do that?
I mean, kind of iconic, really. That customer must have been a real dick.
And I'm sorry, saying. Do you know what the Russian tea thing is?
It's a famous place in New York City. I would recommend looking it up.
Okay.
But she did say that when she moved to New York, it was her first time ever taking a plane. She said she only had $35 in her pocket. It was the first time she ever took a taxi when she got there. It was the bravest thing she'd ever done. But her brother has since disputed this, saying that when she moved to New York, she actually had a bunch of contacts. She had some money saved up. It wasn't this sob story that she tried to make it out to be. Now, who knows what's true? We don't know what actually went down, but I can see both sides. If she was already getting opportunities in New York City, she probably knew some people and had a pretty good network of people to help her out when she got there. But who knows?
Yeah, but it's still not easy to go to New York City.
Certainly not.
Even if you have contacts there, it doesn't mean that you're going to survive.
No, they say a lot of things about New York, and never have I ever heard that it's an easy place to live or get started in the entertainment industry. So she started getting work as a backup dancer for other established artists, and during this time, she was once held at knife point and forced to perform acts that are unspeakable to the men that were holding her at knife point. She found the incident to be a taste of her weakness. It showed her that she could not save herself in spite of the little strong girl show that she had going on, and for that reason, she's never forgotten this incident.
I really would just want to give Madonna a big hug right now. I didn't know, because, you said, like, are you a fan? I was like, man, I don't really care. She's iconic, but she is strong.
Yeah.
AF.
For sure.
That's dark.
It's a lot of stuff to go through she's still, I don't even think she's 20 at this point.
That's a lot of trauma to carry on through.
It's a lot to unpack. So in 1979, she starts dating Dan Gilroy, and he was the founding member of the band Breakfast Club. He introduced her to Vaudeville Revue in Paris, and she actually started working in Paris as a showgirl, and that's what really captivated her and got her interested in singing and performing and getting her the little bug to be an entertainer full-time, not just a dancer. So following year in 1980, she returned to the U.S. and she joined Gilroy's band as a drummer, and then later she became the lead singer. So we're starting to see the makings of a pop star here. And she actually really enjoyed it, and it caused her to form several other bands, including Madonna and the Sky and the band Emmy with her new boyfriend. Now, all of these different adventures caught the attention of Sire Records, who signed her to her first deal to create a single. Now, 1982 rolls around and she releases her first single called Everybody. And the following year, her debut album called Madonna is released. This is where she gets her first top 10 hit called Borderline. And this is also where we start to see her iconic look, due to the stylist Maripol, be created. So, fun fact about this that I didn't know, before she started using a stylist, people really didn't use stylists. That wasn't a thing that artists did. And because she had such an iconic look from her stylist, people were like, oh, that's actually a really good idea, and started using their own. So as you probably know, Kate, her iconic look at this time was lace tops, fishnets, the bleached blonde hair, jewelry with the crucifix, all of that good stuff. And that was all of her stylist work. So just an interesting tidbit.
Oh.
Yeah.
I still can't get over the fact that, like, I didn't know that she started her career as a dancer and then just decided to, in her early 20s, you know what, I'm going to sing now.
Yeah.
And drop an album with my name.
Yeah,
and you know what? I'm not going to lie, I didn't know that Madonna was her real name. I thought that was, like, her stage name.
Me too. Lil Nani.
Is that what they called her?
So, yes. So weird.
Little Nani?
Lil Nani.
Oh, I thought you said Little Naughty.
As in, like, naughty or nice? Is that what you thought?
I was like, that has to be a rapper's name already.
Oh my god. Classic misunderstanding. Classic cart move.
Classic jazz cart miscommunication.
Anyways.
Okay, Little Nani, that makes sense.
Lil Nani. In 1984, she makes an appearance on American Bandstand, which is not the first time we've heard of someone making an appearance on there. Prince did the same to kind of jumpstart his career. Dick Clark asked her, "What are your dreams?" And all she said was, "To rule the world," which I actually love because girl power.
Yes,
let's go.
Lil Nani.
Lil Nani.
I love it.
She had a vision for herself, that's for sure. So this is the same year that she performed like a virgin in a wedding dress at the very first VMA award ceremony. Now, I did not know this, but I'm sure you've seen clips of this performance because it's very iconic now.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Her heel slipped off, and instead of stopping, she rolled around on the floor like you see her do. Now, people thought that this was rehearsed and planned, and they were like, oh, this is so offensive. She's basically pretending like she's having sex, you know, whatever. But she improvised the entire thing because of her heel falling off. She was supposed to just dance to the song. So, as you can imagine, people were very pissed about this. They said it was the end of her career, that she never should have done that. But we know that this moment is iconic, and it actually sparked her career in a way that no one could ever fathom at that point. And when she was asked about it one time, she said she did the best she could to try to make it look like everything was on purpose. But she didn't clarify this until decades after it actually happened because she liked that there was a lot of mystery around why she did it and why it happened in the first place. But needless to say, this whole event changed the way the VMAs in general were looked at, and it basically put them on the map. I mean, we still watch them today, and it forced other musicians and stars to strive to make their performances as memorable as her very first VMAs performance, which I really like. I didn't know that about the VMAs.
No. What a true professional, though. Just going. And hearing that
literally.
people were so angry about it and whatever, I think we also see that a lot with the people that we talk about. And I don't know, I was having a philosophical thought the other day about people always say, like, creatives are always, like, risk takers and stuff like that. And it's not intentional, I feel like. You know, we're not trying to piss people off in a certain way. It's just like, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And people are always going to be angry about it because people don't like what they don't understand. But
so true. And people are going to be mad at anything. People find reasons to be mad no matter what you do. So you might as well do what you want to do.
It clearly helped her career, so.
Exactly. Like a Virgin ended up as a certified diamond song, selling 21 million copies worldwide, and she was the first female to sell over 5 million copies in the US. So it worked out pretty well for her.
Amazing.
In 1985, she started to become interested in being in films. And her very first film role was a cameo. She was herself as a club singer. And then the same year, she got cast as the lead role, or technically not credited as, but she was in Desperately Seeking Susan. So, yeah.
What?
So this movie was, I don't know how much you know about this movie. I've heard of it, but I've never watched it. We have to add it to our list. It was a box office hit as well as a critical hit. She played a grifter with sex appeal is how it's been described. So someone said that accumulation of style points as a means to self-expression in quintessential early Madonna ways.
It says early, but I feel like she's already done so much in her career.
I know. Now you know why the research was so hard, because this is so much.
Jess, you're amazing.
No, it's just I'm a masochist apparently for doing this every week.
Okay,
Anyways, so she did study acting for the role since she had never really acted before, but people did say her character's audacious, cool, and street-savvy hustle is all her own, so she didn't need to learn any of that, which totally makes sense.
It sounds like she already had that swag when she was young.
Exactly. This is also the year in 1985 that her second album comes out, and she's a certified megastar at this point. Between Like a Virgin, the movie doing well, she's just bona fide superstar.
You know, we kind of jumped over Like a Virgin, but that also goes back to her growing up in a Catholic household.
Oh, yeah.
That was probably so taboo.
Oh, yeah. And we can draw on those themes throughout because they don't go away anytime soon, I can tell you that. In 1985, due to her success, nude pictures of her were also released, but in true Madonna fashion, and we'll see this time and time again, she brushed it off, and it kind of set the tone for her and how she dealt with and continues to deal with scandals. And people say that she's actually an expert at PR damage control with her own image because she just brushes it off and pretends like it doesn't affect her, and it might not actually affect her at all, and then people forget about it because she's like, I don't care. You guys can do whatever you want. Yeah. Mm-hmm. This year she also marries actor Sean Penn because they met on the set of Like a Virgin when she was filming.
I forgot that they were married.
Me too.
Oh my god.
So weird. So weird. This is also the year, she did a lot in 1985. It was a really good year for her, but it was also the year that her first major concert tour kicked off. So this is when she starts really touring and making the big bucks. In 1986, True Blue comes out, and it was dedicated to her husband, Sean. Not long after, though, Sean was allegedly becoming very, very jealous of all the male friends she had and all the people that surrounded her. And not to exasperate the issue, but he had a huge box office failure. I mean, when I say this movie tanked, it absolutely tanked. I think it made $2 million on a $16 million budget or something like that.
Do you know which film it was?
Something that I had never heard of, probably for good reason.
Yeah.
So it just added to the tensions of their marriage, and things were not going well for them at this time. But with True Blue, from this point on, she has and continue to have writing or production credits on every single one of her records. Now, this leads to an interesting debate, and this came up time and time again in my research, but there was a debate about if it was a need for creative control, which we know very well at this point, and we've talked about a lot, or if it was a savvy business move to ensure that she was getting royalties on every song. It's been said, there are very conflicting reports about this. So some people say that she's actually really good at writing and producing on her own and actually does all the work. Someone said, you don't produce Madonna, you collaborate with her. She's actually a really good producer herself and obviously a great writer too. She has her vision and she knows how to get it. Rolling Stones named her an exemplary songwriter with a gift for hooks and indelible lyrics. And here's where things get interesting. So she has all these accolades, right? Like people are like, wow, she's so good. But as a songwriter, she has registered a total of 287 songs to a music publishing service. There's an acronym that doesn't matter to anyone, but only 18 of these 287 songs she wrote entirely by herself. Now, when you look at the numbers of that, it seems really, really low compared to what other artists that are proclaimed songwriters do. And all signs point to her songs being mostly collabs. She might write the hook or two here and there. But again, she's never commented on it, so we don't know.
I mean, she's still contributing, though, so I can't... you can't really fault her for that. Knowing a bit about the music industry, and by a bit, I mean nothing at all, but there are like 3 pop song writers.
Yeah.
One is Max Martin. He writes like every pop song you've ever listened to, ever.
Ryan Tedder is another one.
Yeah, like, so even if you're writing the hook or whatever, I just wonder how much of that is like, I don't know, because that was before the whole pop formula really became like such an industry.
It's interesting because there's so much conflicting stuff on it. That's why I wanted to talk about it. Like, we really don't know, and it doesn't matter because she's so successful.
It doesn't matter.
But it's interesting from a creative standpoint. The debate is more so, if you look at it from a higher level, is she just a really good businesswoman, or is she actually a gifted musician? You know, that's kind of what we have to evaluate. But it's not for...
Okay, that's what you're saying.
Not for us to say. True. People that collaborated with her, just as another side note, they've also said that she could have been successful as just a guitar player. Apparently she's very talented at guitar, and she started to get more comfortable performing it on tour and at her concerts, but I've never seen her play, so that was news to me.
Well, now you mentioned the drums before too. She plays the drums as well?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, just more and more.
Cool.
And dances and all that stuff. Writes hooks, apparently. All the things. All the things. So on this album was the Papa Don't Preach track. Do you know anything
of that song?
So this song is actually, it's sung from a pregnant teenager's perspective that wants to keep her baby. And as you can imagine, as with everything that has to do with babies, this sparked huge controversy amongst pro-lifers and Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood said it glamorized teen pregnancy and said anti-choice groups used it as a weapon to discourage abortion. Madonna herself stayed completely out of the debate, saying she made the song because she felt like it, and it was a way to stand up to male authority. Typical Madonna. And she also stated women should choose their lives for themselves, but never commented on, if she's pro-life, pro-choice, anything like that. But people were pissed about this song. They were not thrilled.
You know what's weird too is like, it's one thing if say Madonna wasn't a singer or a pop artist, and what if she was just an author and she wrote a book about that? Do you think there would be as much outrage, or is it because there's a song that's like light and fun people can dance to that's what's causing all the outrage?
That's a really good point.
She's just sounds like she's just like a storyteller.
Yeah, and it sounds like, I think people get more mad when you put a face with it, like it's someone that you can actually demonize. Versus if it's an author, you often don't see what the author looks like or know their persona.
Good point.
So that might be part of it too. Who's to say? With that, let's take a quick break. Hey, Kate.
Yes?
Remember that time that we convinced our bosses to let us start a podcast?
Yeah, and you know what? We made it happen, but we had some help along the way. It's not as easy to start a podcast as I thought it was. There's a lot you have to do. You have to get the branding, get all of your thumbnails and everything done. But we have some help from Design Pickle.
Yeah, we sure do. And with things like the source files and unlimited revisions, unlimited requests, our smart designer match, it's been honestly a super easy process, way easier than if we were trying to do it ourselves.
Oh yeah, and we can even automate the process with the Zapier integration. So there's a reason why Design Pickle is ranked on the Inc. 5000 2 years in a row. And I believe we have a special deal for all of our listeners right now.
We sure do. If you are listening to this podcast and you need flat rate unlimited graphic design or custom illustrations, you can get $100 off your first month of any of our awesome plans by using the code WORST at checkout. That's WORST, all caps.
Woo! That is amazing. Head over to designpickle.com and use WORST at checkout, and you can get $100 off. $100 off any plan. It's amazing.
Any of them. It's a pretty big deal.
Get out of here.
So, I think you've seen by now, we have several similarities between Madonna and Prince. We keep drawing on those parallels, but it really is true. And what would a good story be without a Prince collab? So, in 1998, wow, we just time traveled, 1988, Madonna went to Paisley Park to try to collaborate with Prince. And they had been longtime friends. Like, they're still, well, up until he passed away, they were still friends and admirers of each other's work. But she's often said writing songs with others is often too intimate. She prefers to write on her own. So she wanted to break the mold of that and go to Paisley Park to write with Prince. She worked with him for a few days, but then she left because she was just really over it and she couldn't get any work done. So they kind of sit on this. They really wanted to try to write something for her upcoming album together. And they were like, well, it's just not working out. But then he went to see her in her Broadway production of Speed the Plow, whatever that is, and brought her a demo of one of the collabs that they kind of wrote together, Love Song, at the time that she spent at Paisley Park. She actually really liked it and wanted to put it on like a prayer, but they continued to collaborate from far away because she didn't want to go to Minnesota. She said she couldn't work in such a cold place and it was much too desolate for her, and basically it just ruined her mood. She was not inspired to write there.
Interesting.
Yeah. But she did refer to Prince many times as being very shy, but incredibly charming and funny in his own way, which is not surprising to us as now Prince experts, some may say. So
I love a good crossover episode. And you know what? It's hard to have, I think we said this before, but having two insanely creative people, like, it's nice in theory to have them come together and collab on something, but that's very difficult to do if they're both so, I don't know, they like to control what they're working on. And that's why we don't like group projects in school. Exactly.
So I just thought that was a fun little homage to our buddy Prince after all the time we spent talking about him. But in 1989, she has another controversy. Now, I think a lot of people know about this one, but might not know the details. And in response to this controversy, around the same time as it was all happening, she said, art should be controversial, and that's all there is to it. Is she wrong? But basically what happened is this song itself premiered as part of a Pepsi ad, and then the music video dropped the next day. Now, many people say that this was the original example of cultural appropriation, and the video basically shows, have you seen it before?
I don't know. Maybe.
It shows her running into a church after witnessing white men assault a white woman. And then she testifies on behalf of the black man who was wrongfully arrested for the assault. So,
okay.
You'll have to Google it. Everyone should look it up on YouTube. I love the song. I listened to it probably 20 million times as I was doing research because it's a banger. But the video is like, okay.
Wait, I'm sorry. Which song are we talking about? Oh, yes. Okay, yeah, sorry. I thought you were talking about something else. Yes, I do remember that. I was very young when that came out, like a baby. So it was like after the fact, after it had been popular for a while. But I remember watching it and feeling like, this is kind of weird. It's
just a little strange.
It's the whole scene in the beginning.
I don't think I actually said the song, so sorry. It's like a prayer that we're talking about. It's very strange. If you haven't seen it, look it up, like I said, because I can't fully describe it properly without seeing the visuals that go to it. But essentially, all of the imagery within it, I mean, there's a statue of a black saint and burning crosses, and she was praying to a black Jesus and all this stuff. There were so many protests about the imagery that she was using. And Pepsi actually ended up dropping her and the $5 million ad campaign that went along with it as a result. Now, some applauded her for this, for breaking racial and religious taboos, but others said it was a flagrant misuse and abuse of African American cultural identities by white artists, which we know is still an issue today. And it was actually condemned by the Vatican. So she's just pissing off the church left and right. And we see that again, over and over again. But the day after she was dropped by Pepsi, she had an event and she walked the red carpet with a Coke can. which I think is so petty. But also, I mean...
Who's her PR person?
Herself.
I kind of love that.
She decided to do that on her own. So, take that for what it is.
But I don't understand, and maybe you're getting into this, but like, why? Do you know why she decided to do the whole scene and stuff in that music video?
No idea. No, I mean, the only real explanation is her hatred of Catholicism from childhood, but even that isn't a full.
But not even the religious stuff, but having like the whole scene where she's defending, I don't know, it's bizarre.
It's just a little odd.
I think I remember watching that music video when it was on, what's that show called on VH1, where it was like pop-up video, and it would say all the facts about the video.
Yes. Yeah, that's
bloop.
It's just a weird one. But anyways, on the album, so Like a Prayer was obviously the title song, but the album itself was called Like a Prayer, and Prince played guitar on 3 tracks, including that song, which I did not know.
Oh, wow.
And they were actually rumored to have dated at this time because she had just divorced Sean Penn. But the stories around it, there's nothing conclusive, but they're very strange, and it seems like, at least the way people described it, was that she was a little bit obsessed with him in a weird way, but we really don't know what happened there. And there was never confirmed that they were together. All speculation. But despite the controversy and Pepsi dropping her and the Vatican condemning her and all of the bad things happening, this album kicked off her streak of 5 great albums in a row. So they were all just wildly successful for the next 5, which I think is pretty cool. But with the scandal part, there's a lot of debate, and I feel like you were getting on this, so I want to talk about it. There's a lot of debate about if she made the scandals or if they made her. And there are actually hundreds of articles out there talking about this very topic, because she didn't have to put out a video like that, right? Like, the song's upbeat, it's kind of fun, you can dance to it. She didn't have to go that extra with it. So someone once said, after all, Madonna didn't go from a child of 8 in a working-class Detroit family to one of the most famous, lasting, and influential pop stars in the world by responding to a Craigslist ad. Her success is the result of one long, determined calculation, not necessarily just the manifestation of talent.
That's pretty savage, though. I mean, just talking about, like, well, it's just so she can get up there and, you know, be famous, but to play devil's advocate, I mean, there are so many talented singers and creators out there who don't get famous, and she tapped into some, like, no art has to be controversial. She said that, and she knew that. She recognized that that's going to boost her up.
Yep.
But also, what if it wasn't just like, hey, this is going to make me famous? What if she just wanted to create? It kind of, we keep talking about Prince, but, you know, he wanted to make all of those movies, and we speculated that making music just wasn't enough. He wanted to make more. And so maybe that's like her vision of doing performance art,
True.
So to speak.
You're not wrong. She actually said at one point, I know I'm not the best singer, and I know I'm not the best dancer. She was very insecure about her voice, like her whole career. But I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in pushing people's buttons and being provocative and being political. So, like, she knows what she's doing. She's not immune to that. Someone else said her fame was cobbled together through explosive moments, which I thought was very profound. And it again goes back to, you know, she might have had a hand in some of it and been fine with some of it, but I think a lot of the stuff just happened, and she was like, well, I'm just going to deal with this head on, and it's going to make me an even bigger star, and you guys are going to have to deal with it.
Well, that stuff happened, and it made her a bigger star, so you kind of learn from that behavior, and you're like, oh, okay, I can do this again. I can do a music video that's crazy, and it's going to propel me even further.
Exactly.
So,
and she wanted to rule the world. She told Dick Clark, so why not go with it?
Dick Clark made it happen. No, he didn't. Sorry.
So in 1990, it's her Blonde Ambition tour, and this is where we first see her collaboration with Jean-Paul Gaultier, which was the collab that brought us the cone boobs and corsets, as you have seen the images of. Yes! Now that became her signature, as we know, and he has since said it was his, by far and away, his best collaboration that he ever did. And the tour in general was considered the bar for modern tours. It kind of set the precedent for doing multiple sets, crazy lighting, lots of costume, lots of backup dancers, making it an actual spectacle versus just an artist on a stage performing. So this was in 1990. I mean, that's pretty far ahead of her time. It was also around this time that she was offered a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, but she never accepted it, so the invitation expired and she still doesn't have the star.
I didn't know you could just like not accept it.
I thought they would just do it regardless, but apparently you have to formally accept a star in your name. Fun facts, the more you know. This time, in 1990, she also dated Vanilla Ice for several months.
Wait, what?
Uh-huh.
It's my go-to karaoke song, as you know.
I can't. So he has said it was just an odd relationship, and she was so jealous that she would call him in the middle of the night to see if he was cheating on her, and he would say,
"Yeesh.
No, dude, I'm literally alone in my bed, but thanks for calling at 3 a.m. again."
Isn't he much younger than her, too? Not that that matters, but...
Great question. Don't know the answer to
maybe
that.
Not. Maybe I'm just still picturing him when he's, like, blonde hair spikes.
Probably. So needless to say, that did not last very long. They were both not very happy in that relationship.
So bizarre.
So weird. In 1990, MTV also bans her Justify My Love music video. Now, I believe, I might be misquoting the articles, but I believe she's the only artist to ever have a music video banned by MTV permanently. So it was banned because it was so sexually explicit. It basically had an orgy going on the whole time. And because...
Was that the one with, like, monogamy written on someone's chest?
I believe so.
Okay.
I didn't watch it, but I believe it's something like that. So because she was like, well, MTV banned it, so got to do something, she released it as a VHS single, and that was the first time this was ever done, for $9.99, and it ended up going platinum 4 times. Yeah.
So people would just buy like a little VHS
for $10. Can you imagine that now? I pay $10 a month for my Spotify subscription. It's crazy. I wonder if anyone still has their VHS version of that. That'd be funny.
You'd probably find it on eBay
probably
for $1 million.
She said her decision to release it as a VHS single was to combat hypocrisy in the world of music videos. She didn't really agree with the fact that she was being censored because she felt like there were male artists that put out music videos that were equally provocative and they didn't cause as big of a stir, which I'm guessing she had a fair point. I can't reference other music videos at the time, but I'm guessing that she was right in saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, same. I'm trying to think of. This is so awful. The first person who pops in my head is R. Kelly. Like, how come he wasn't banned from MTV and Madonna was?
Right.
But
I think at this point too, I mean, you have to wonder if she had a little bit of a reputation from the Like a Virgin thing and the Like a Prayer thing, and they were being a little more hesitant because they didn't want angry letters and whatever from hate groups and they were trying to protect themselves, but at the same time she basically helped MTV exponentially with the VMAs.
Oh yeah.
So who knows the real reason behind it, but not for us to decide. In 1991, she really starts solidifying her status as an LGBTQ ally, and she did an interview with the publication The Advocate, and it really showed the fact that she understood the issues and identity of the LGBTQ community beyond just basic comprehension, and she credited her time in gay clubs early on for helping her empathy towards this particular group of people. Now, this interview came out at the height of HIV, and she actually did, as a follow-up, a PSA about safe sex and worked with a sex-positive nonprofit group called ACT UP to really put her money where her mouth was in conjunction with the interview. So she's still seen as an ally today. She does a lot for the LGBTQ community, and it's a big passion of hers, which I thought is a cool thing to mention amidst all the controversy and sex stuff.
Yeah, I feel like I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop, because you're... up until this point, I'm like, I have such a new respect for Madonna. We said before, I'm like, I'm ambivalent, I don't know, but just hearing how much tragedy she overcame and how she really worked her way up. I mean, moving to New York City and like creating an awesome career is not easy. No. And yeah, hearing that she's supporting all of these groups. But now you're probably going to say something that's like going to make me not like her anymore, and I don't want you to. Well,
in 1992, she released a coffee table book called Sex, And it was released at the same time as her album Erotica. So
here we go.
Because there was so much backlash. To put it in perspective, it was basically a coffee table book that just had provocative and sexually explicit images of her, nudes, all of the thing. Unclear why she did it, but because of the backlash from this book, Erotica was her lowest selling album of all time. And the book went on to become a New York Times bestseller within a week. So clearly people were not fazed by this, but it was quite the stir because of the images and a lot of weird bondage moments and just a little aggressive with the book. Sexual liberation or just straight up being weird, we don't know. Not for us to decide, again.
I'm shrugging. I'm like, what's the big deal? I mean, that's what you're into.
Exactly. So this year is also the year, which is a funny, again, juxtaposition to me, but A League of Their Own comes out this year, and she's praised for her performance. And that movie is so innocent and pure to me. I mean, it's not, but it is.
Love that movie. Did that influence you at all? Since, Jess, you were a world-famous softball player.
World famous. No.
Okay, moving on.
I was more inspired by The Sandlot, I would say.
Oh,
so much so that I named my dog after Benny, but yeah.
That's where Benny's name comes
You didn't know that?
Big light bulb moment.
Wait, did you really not know that?
I really did not
Are you
know
serious?
that. I mean, you didn't
We've been
tell
friends
me.
for how long now?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Forever.
That's like one of my all-time favorite movies, and just I feel like my childhood was a lot, not with an actual Sandlot, but just, you know, with my team and whatnot. I really felt that movie.
Now I want to watch that movie with you, and we'll be together in a few weeks.
We
so
have
let's add that to the queue.
Benny will be happy because it's his namesake, so he'll watch with us. Anyways, by
the way, Benny is Jess's dog, in case we did not make that clear enough.
He doesn't bark a lot, but sometimes he'll make appearances on our video, so we'll
sneezes.
Yeah, and rolls around on the ground. Yeah, our dogs like to be part of the podcast too, which they're actually our producers. Sure. Just kidding. We've gone off the rails. Back on track. A less fun topic.
Okay. Baseball.
Yeah, so in 1992, the book comes out, her album comes out, the movie comes out, and she also admits to having had abortions. But she set the precedent, really, for celebs openly discussing this topic. It wasn't something that was touched on before, so a lot of people praised her for this, and they credit her for giving them the strength to talk about it on their own. She also founded the record label Maverick, and she was the head of the record label for 12 years after that. Now, she helped start the career of the very famous Alanis Morissette with Jagged Little Pill. I did not know that, but she heard Jagged Little Pill and was obsessed with it and was like, this is going to be an immediate hit. And then Maverick helped produce that song and record, I believe.
Oh, I love that album.
Me too. It's so angsty and amazing.
Had no idea she was involved with that at all.
Me either. So in 1994, she had a very weird public moment on David Letterman. I don't know about you, Kate, but I love David Letterman. He's one of my favorite late night hosts of all time. But she broke a record for the amount of time she was bleeped out. She was just swearing at him. She called him a liar with no reasoning behind it. She refused to leave the stage, and she took her underwear off and handed them to him and asked him to smell them. Oh. And he was like, I'm really uncomfortable with this. But it seemed like she was actively trying to offend him. Now,
well, we kind of just talked about how, it's almost like Pavlovian. When you propel to success after having all these controversial moments, aren't you kind of seeking that at some point? Like, what else can I do that's going to propel my career?
Yeah.
Let me make David Letterman so extremely uncomfortable.
Yeah, very odd.
Why?
I don't know. One critic said the Letterman appearance was another such stunt, a way to keep her name in the papers in lieu of actually producing some sort of creative work. So people were not impressed anymore. I think by this point, they were like, we get it, Madonna. Just do something else. We get that you like this kind of stuff, but we're kind of over it. People were getting a little bit fatigued by the same shtick going on. Mm-hmm. And they kept saying that that in conjunction with, she was doing weird stuff on tour at this time, like just rubbing flags between her legs and just doing weird stuff to get attention. So people started murmuring that she had gone too far and this was the beginning of the end of her career, because they were just, again, they're like, we've seen it, dude. We get new material. We're over it. We're over it.
Uh-huh.
Now, this is also around the time that she dated Dennis Rodman for 2 months, famed basketball player. And
quick sidebar about Dennis Rodman.
I have no idea where you're going with this.
Because he lived in Orange County or was in the area. And when I worked as a junior lifeguard instructor for a time, his kids were in the program. And he'd come to pick up his kids, which is like this huge parking lot. So all the parents come to pick their kids up from junior lifeguards. And he drives up in this huge Hummer with the whole exterior was painted in just naked women.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
And we didn't know what to do, because I'm like 17 and I'm running this program with other 17-year-olds, and we're like, avert your eyes, children. Like, what do we do? We had to guide people away from them. So, because all these kids are seeing this, they're seeing boobs on this car for the first time in their lives. So yeah, that was my first, hello, Dennis.
Mr. Rodman.
Just come on and make a scene in front of all these children. That's perfect.
So funny. What a weird story.
Yeah, sorry. I forgot that never happened.
That's just,
so you brought up his name.
I mean, that's so on brand for Dennis Rodman.
Yeah, I know.
It just makes sense. But with their relationship, some interesting things happened. The speculation is that Madonna may have had an effect on his style and interest in publicity stunts, like showing up to his book signing in a wedding dress a few years later. But he has argued this and said that she didn't influence him. Okay. Yeah. When they first met, Madonna allegedly locked him in her hotel room and said, "I'm not letting you out."
How do you lock someone in a hotel room?
I don't know. I'm sure there are ways to do it if you're Madonna. He also, how is it? He thought her music sucked and publicly said that.
Sounds like a really healthy relationship.
Well, it gets better. So apparently she really wanted to have a baby with him. Really, really bad. And called him when he was away gambling in Vegas and was like, you need to come here right now and we need to make a baby. So he flies to New York, they do the deed, and he literally flies back to Vegas that night to continue gambling. He flew all the way across the country just to do the deed. Now, she reportedly wanted this baby so bad that she offered him $20 million to impregnate her. Yes.
And he turned it down?
I don't think he needed any help in the money department in the 90s. No. So, it just...
Why?
Don't know. I guess she also sat...
Ladies, if you ever have to pay your man to give you a baby, just don't.
Just don't. Great advice, Kate. Just don't. But
just don't.
I guess... One night she was at one of the games and she was sitting front row, according to him, looking very Madonna-ish. And after the game, she just was randomly sitting at his locker. And he was very confused by this because, Kate, as you may or may not know, it's really not that easy to just sneak your way into a professional sports locker room.
Oh, and I've tried.
I've tried. Just kidding. But he didn't invite her in or put her on a list or anything, and she just sat there, and all the players were asking why she was in there because they all had their towels on, but they didn't really care. They were like, it's Madonna, whatever.
It's Madonna.
They wanted a picture with her, and she just sat there and was hanging out with the dudes, and then they went home together.
Sounds like a power move.
It does.
She's able to walk in there, no problem, and it's in front of all of his colleagues, really. Just deal with it. I'm here.
Yeah, just odd. But Dennis has since said, "We had a nice little fling that came and gone. Madonna didn't influence me to be a fashion and creative guru. We came together in the perfect time. She was stagnating in her career and I was coming up. We helped motivate each other going the same direction at that particular time." So yet again, we ask, is it a publicity stunt that they were together? Did she actually like him? Who knows? Who knows? Now in 1995, she has a relationship with Tupac, which I did not know.
There's that famous picture where she's, yeah, I've seen that.
Now, there's not a whole bunch about their relationship, but my favorite part and the funniest part to me is that Tupac actually broke up with her via letter from prison. And the reason was because she's white. So it was very short-lived between the two of them. Yeah. He just decided.
I wonder how she took that.
Probably not well.
Can't really change that, so.
And it's not like you can go beat him up because he was in prison at the time, so.
Oh.
Yeah, so immediately.
She sneaks into the prison and just sitting there. I'm Madonna,
Wouldn't be surprised. Not too long after this breakup, she starts dating Carlos Leon. And as you know, or may not know, this is the eventual baby daddy of her first daughter. So in 1996, we get back to movies, and she really wanted to be in the movie Evita. I don't know if you've seen it. I have not, but I know some of the music because it's iconic. She actually wrote to the director to get the part. She was so enamored by the position and really, really felt like she could do a good job at it. And he ended up being impressed by her initiative to do that. So he gave her the part. She had to do significant vocal coaching, which she has since said significantly improved her range, which made her career better. She also had to take history lessons about that whole region of the world, make sure everything was factually accurate and that she was acting accordingly. And she kept getting sick while they were filming, and she didn't know why, but she found out that she was pregnant with her first kid, Lourdes, who's called Lola. And she ended up winning the Golden Globe for this performance, and it was a critical success. She received so much critical acclaim for it. So yet again, she's leveling herself back up after weird stuff with Tupac, weird stuff with Dennis Rodman. She reinvents herself, and lo and behold, is a renowned actress. So shortly after this, she breaks up with Carlos, aka Lourdes' dad, because she said that they were better as friends. So pretty short-lived, but it sounds like they had a nicer, more normal relationship than her and Dennis may have had.
Well, and it sounds, I mean, she clearly really wanted to be a mother, and it almost sounds like that kind of reprioritized everything for her.
Totally. Now we're in 1998. This is when Madonna starts to become involved with Eastern mysticism and Kabbalah, which is a school of thought in Jewish mysticism. Yet another parallel to Prince, as we recall
I completely forgot that she made that whole religion.
Yeah, and this is when she released Ray of Light, and it was a softer take and yet another reinvention we see. So it wasn't the dancey, clubby, sexually provocative. It was a little more mainstream. And she received a lot of critical acclaim for this new sound, including 4 Grammys for this new direction. So yet another reinvention from our girl, Madge. This is also when she met Guy Ritchie, who she dated for a long time and then married. She met him via Sting, which I didn't know. I feel like the creative industry is so intertwined that these people are all...
Via what? Oh, Sting. Okay.
Now, according to reports, the relationship was one scene of emasculation after another. And it was often said that Madonna was way too obsessed with her own image for Guy's liking. He just was kind of over it. He didn't really understand it. He was a filmmaker and just didn't really understand her need to be obsessed with her image as much as she was.
He always seemed a lot more low-key.
Needless to say, they still had a child together, and in 2000, she gave birth to Rocco John Ritchie, who's the son of Guy, obviously. Now, she returned to the U.S. with a fake British accent around this time.
That's right.
Which she still kind of has. It's very interesting if you've heard her interviewed in the past few years.
Oh, she still uses it?
Yeah, it's something. But she said, "I'm not reinventing myself. I'm going through layers and revealing myself. I'm on a journey, an adventure that's constantly changing shape." So,
Madge, I don't think you had that British accent under all those layers. I think that's a new one.
She's like, I pulled a layer back and surprise, I'm British.
I'm British. Who knew?
Harry
That's
Potter.
crazy.
So weird. So that rubbed people the wrong way as well. But in 2000, she had done a few more movies, none really worth mentioning, but she was in 2000 dubbed the worst actress of the century. And by this point, she had 9 Razzie wins, which, as you know, is for worst acting performance. So she had some...
No. Okay, of the century.
Actress of the century. So, yeah.
That's extreme.
But today, just as a quick side note on her film career, she's been in 26 feature films, 10 short films, and 3 plays. So she's prolific in this space, but apparently not the best actress in the world.
But she did so well in Evita, so...
She did so well in Evita and Desperately Seeking Susan. So maybe it was just about finding a role that actually fit her. Who knows? Now we fast forward to 2003, and this is when we get to the infamous kiss with Britney Spears
Yes, I was waiting for it.
and Christina Aguilera at, yet again, the VMAs. And Madonna, in her typical way, her casual response to these controversies, didn't really care. She just brushed it off, and it was clear at this point that she was aligning herself with the young talent of the moment to, again, try to reinvent herself and stay relevant. She allegedly saw Britney's manager after the performance and kissed him on the lips and said, "You see, Larry, it was all worth it."
Larry's like,
Larry's
what?
like,
Do you know... I vaguely remember, was that like not scripted or not planned at all? Like she just went for
I
it?
couldn't really find info about it.
Okay.
I don't think that she's publicly said it because she likes to keep those types of things a mystery, but
Sure. I always felt kind of bad for Christina Aguilera because it was all about the Britney and Madonna kiss, and no one cared as much about Christina. And
I forgot that she was even part of it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What an iconic moment.
So, I mean, it'll go down in VMA's history, if not pop culture history. This is also around the time that she was trying to rap, and it was just a pretty massive failure. She was Lil Nani was not good at rapping.
Little naughty Nani.
It was not great.
No.
But she started developing some other business interests as well, and this is when she released her first children's book. So she goes on stage, kisses Britney, and then also releases a children's book in the same year and donated all the money from the children's book to a charity for children. So, all over the place here. Now, 2005, she returns to the charts. She makes a little bit of a comeback with her Confessions on a Dance Floor album. And this tour became the highest grossing tour by a female artist. It made almost $200 million in revenue. But she pissed off the Catholic Church yet again.
She's still doing that. Okay.
We're still on that. She was in Rome for the tour, and she sang Live to Tell, one of her songs, while tethered to a disco ball cross in Rome, which is probably not the best place to do that for Catholic stuff. So, as you can imagine, she was accused of blasphemy, and the cardinal of the Catholic Church said, "It is nothing short of a scandal, an attempt to generate publicity." Like, okay, we've seen it before.
Yeah, like, we know she's not for that, so...
Yeah,
Why don't you just ignore her and live your life, and you'll be fine?
Isn't that parenting 101? I mean, not that she needed a parent, but it's like if you keep reacting to your kid doing something, they're going to keep doing it because they want the attention.
Exactly.
Come on, Catholic Church. So in 2006, she goes to Malawi, the country in Africa, and adopted her first son. But in true Madonna fashion, it was not without significant controversy. So there were laws that prevented non-residents from adopting Malawian children. But she said that there were no laws, she went on Oprah to say this, to regulate the process officially. And she was accused by many at the time of just being a celebrity that wanted a, quote, rainbow family because it started to become trendy. And this family of the little boy that she tried to adopt and eventually ended up adopting, his family said she was baby snatching and that she had them sign papers they couldn't read nor understand.
Oh,
and the whole
no.
adoption was attempted, like they attempted to block it. These children rights groups in Malawi tried to block the adoption from happening. But she has since commented on it, saying she didn't think trying to save a child's life would cause such an uproar. It was a really big low point for her. The child's dad was also weirdly involved. There wasn't a lot about it, but the whole thing was just, it rubbed people the wrong way because he did still have a father and family. And she just kind of came in and was like, I want this one. So,
oh no.
Yeah, just, again, a little strange. A little strange.
Yeah, you think you're doing something really good, but you're just taking someone's child away. Oh,
yeah.
Dear. Oh, dear.
So, I mean, the adoption ended up going through, and this is still her son today. So, anyways, the next year, she left Warner Bros., who she was with for 24 years, and she signed with concert promoter Live Nation, which was the first deal of its kind. The deal was worth more than $100 million, and it was a new way to look at ways artists could have deals. So it was relying mostly on touring instead of album sales, which again was pretty ahead of her time because this is before Spotify and all the streaming services really came to be. But she kind of saw, hey, we're not going to make money on album sales anymore. That's not where this is headed. So that was pretty cool because yet again, we're seeing that she was a visionary in this space. I don't know if it was her or Live Nation, but she signed on the dotted line.
Sounds like she definitely knew how to put on a performance too, so why not lean into that?
Exactly. Now, she also directed a film in 2007 called Filth and Wisdom, and it was absolutely panned by critics. I have no idea what it was about. I didn't look it up, but now I want to because it was not well received. People were like, please just stop. Just don't do this anymore. So in 2008, she does her Sticky and Sweet tour, and at this point, it was the most successful, highest-grossing concert tour of all time by a female artist. This year, she was also inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and this is also the last time to date that she had a top 5 hit. It was 4 Minutes with Justin Timberlake and Timbaland, if you remember that song.
I do know that song.
It's a great song.
I remember that song, yeah.
In 2009, she adopted yet another child from Malawi, because the first heartache wasn't enough. And this was an actual court case that happened in Malawi because people were again fighting it, saying she's not a resident. There are laws around this. You can't do this again. But then the higher court overturned the lower court's decision and said that she could adopt a little girl. So yet again, she got a child from Malawi.
Why does she keep going back to the same country if there's so many issues going against her with that?
I don't know.
That's bizarre. I mean, there are so many children that need to be adopted.
Yeah. That part really rubs me the wrong way, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Just because
That's like the whole white savior thing coming into play. That's so icky.
It made me feel icky. That's the best word for it. What also made me feel icky is that in 2009, she announced plans to create an all-girls school in Malawi for $15 million. She said she was going to build it from scratch and help all these kids. But the plan was abandoned after 2 years, and not one brick was laid, allegedly. People have said since it looks like an empty mine.
Yikes.
And to pivot, she was like, oh, I'm going to help fund 10 schools instead. And we don't really know if she ended up doing that, but not a great look at all. Mm-mm. At all. So in 2011, there was a lot of controversy around Lady Gaga's Born This Way because people said it sounded way too similar to Express Yourself, which is a very famous Madonna song. And Madonna didn't address it. Instead, she just was a petty little bee and performed a mashup of the two songs on her Madonna tour. Yeah. Didn't address it at all, but she's like, we'll just put the songs together and everyone can decide for themselves how similar they are. So, I'm sorry, I said Madonna tour.
That's similar?
The MDNA tour. We all know what that stands for.
Madonna. Midna.
I didn't actually get a chance to listen to them side by side, but I really want to now because I feel like there are similarities in the beats at least.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when Lady Gaga got really big and there was a lot of talk of like, well, she's just trying to be another Madonna, blah, blah, blah. But come on, Lady Gaga is a queen.
Yeah.
in her own right.
Why are we pitting women against each other, people? Why are we doing
Let's
that?
not.
So this year she also directed another film called W.E., and it didn't do well at all either, but she kept doing it.
Just like Prince, I didn't know she was involved in all these films. Yep. Creators gotta create.
In 2012, she did a Super Bowl halftime performance again.
Yes, Prince. Do you remember this?
And at that point, it was the most watched in history, which has since been surpassed, I believe, by Prince. I didn't look that up, but I believe that's who passed it. But yeah, it was iconic, and I don't remember the performance that well. I just remember people were freaking out about it, per the usual. Not too long after, a Malawi government spokesperson accused Madonna of demanding VIP treatment during a goodwill visit to the country. And in a statement, she said that she denied asking for special treatment and that she traveled to Malawi to visit schools funded by her nonprofit. So again, just like, what is it with this country? I don't understand. I really don't. Yeah,
I mean, it sounds like she thinks she's just a god there, but no, honey, don't do that.
No. In 2015, one of the most famous, iconic musicals of all time now, Hamilton, comes out, and she went to the show. She sat front row and was apparently texting the entire time, which, I don't know, Kate, if you've ever been to a Broadway play, but it's the biggest no-no you could ever do in theater. You just don't text during a Broadway play. You don't look at your phone. You don't have it on ringer. It's so disrespectful to the actors and performers. So the whole cast of Hamilton basically spoke out against her. Lin-Manuel Miranda banned her from all future Hamilton performances and was like, if you can't respect it, then you can't come back. Jonathan Groff, who is in Mindhunter and is the voice of Kristoff in Frozen, also is the king in Hamilton. He said, quote, "That bitch was on her phone. You couldn't miss it from the stage. It was a black void of the audience in front of us, and her face was there perfectly lit by the light of her iPhone through 3/4 of the show."
Oh, yeah. Again, my face is just, my eyeballs are massive because for whatever reason, just because they're all creators and whatnot, musicians, I would think that they were friendly towards each other. But if someone's being that disrespectful towards your craft, you're gonna be pissed.
I mean, she wouldn't want people to do that at her shows, I can't imagine. No. And you're lucky enough to go to Hamilton. People were fighting over those tickets and still do. And
it's not like you don't have to go to a bunch of Broadway shows to know that that's a big no-no. I mean, we all grew up going to the movie theaters where it's like there's 5 minutes of ads saying turn your cell phone off.
Exactly.
That's so rude.
Yeah, so she didn't have much of a response to that because what can she say? But a lot of people feel like this...
Sorry, I was texting Malawi.
I was requesting VIP treatment from them, and they said no via text, so I got to keep texting them.
It was urgent.
A lot of people think that this signified a shift in her PR stunts, though, because they weren't being crafted carefully anymore. It was just like a lack of relevance and understanding basic social interactions at this point, and she was just getting panned for it. People were like, yet again, we're kind of sick of it, dude. We're kind of over it. Just be better.
Yeah.
Now, in 2016, she does Carpool Karaoke with James Corden. And it's kind of weird. You need to watch it. I would show it to you, but I couldn't even pick one section to show you because the whole thing, our producer watched it too. And we were like, what did we just watch?
Really?
It's just odd. She said during that she doesn't party, smoke, or drink, and that she goes out and performs and then goes home and wants to be Julie Andrews.
Meaning what?
That she is really pure at home. Yet again.
That had to have been like tongue-in-cheek. Maybe not.
I don't know. She also said during that she wanted to be a nun for a long time. And I'm like, but did you? Because you started rebelling pretty early on, girlfriend. I don't see the nun thing for you in any of that. But okay.
Sure.
This year, she also... 2016, she was big into activism for women's rights. She actually participated in the Women's March on Washington and was named Billboard Woman of the Year for her honest speech on equality, sexism, and ageism. I feel all over the place right now because, she's doing something shitty and then she's doing something good and winning an award and being an activist.
Hey, man, that's... people are flawed. That's called being a human being. We're
You're
all
not
flawed.
wrong.
And creatives tend to go to the extremes in both ways. So, yeah, when everyone we discuss, I'm like, oh, I love this person. They're my hero. And then like, oh, that's so gross. How could they do that? But that's just, especially, you know, like people do stuff like that, but you don't know because they're not in the spotlight. Like these people have been propelled into fame. So we see the extremes of what she's done. But it's safe to say she's done a lot for women and female equality and everything like that. But also like...
Yeah.
Also, I'm like, I don't, just a little bit of I think just being, because she's so iconic. She's like the queen of pop. So things are probably just, your reality is so misguided at that point.
Probably. Well, to make our opinion of her even weirder, in 2017, she sent Malawi another text. She didn't, but she went back and adopted twins from Malawi. So she has 4 children from Malawi and 2 of her own children. She also co-founded Raising Malawi to help orphans there and opened a hospital there. So take that for what you will. We don't really know. Now, in today's age, she is obviously not making as much music as she was, but she is a partner in a chain of health clubs called Hard Candy Fitness. She has a bunch of other business ventures. Speaking of fitness, I didn't really get to touch on this, but I think it's worth mentioning. She was often criticized by people for being too muscular, but
I remember that.
She felt like she defined the standard for how strong a pop star could look, and like it was okay to be muscular as a woman, and like it's not easy to perform the way you do, you know, like you have to be in shape. And so what if that's how her body...
She was also very thin too. So I feel like her muscles were more pronounced.
Yeah.
That was always kind of a thing.
And she still gets crap for that. But
cool.
There's also a rumor going around right now that she's working on a script for a film about her life with writer Diablo Cody, who, if you don't know that name, she did Juno. Yeah. So that could be interesting. She also was recently very much getting heat because she was doing an Instagram live from a bathtub and had rose petals in it and was talking about COVID and basically just was making really questionable comments about COVID. Instagram actually flagged and removed the post for making false claims about coronavirus. So again, it's just like, are you in touch with reality anymore? Are you so far removed from it because you're so famous? It just seems like there's a lack of understanding, and a lot of her Instagram posts are like that. She referred to her son, her biological son, as the N-word at one point, and then tried to apologize.
Excuse me?
Yeah, tried to like apologize for it and be like, oh, it was a term of endearment. And then she also took the photo shoot that Jay-Z and Beyonce did at the Louvre from the song 8, you know, that music video. And instead of the paintings on the wall that the Louvre actually has, she replaced it and photoshopped it with all her album covers. And people were like, okay. Like,
at this point, I'm not even like mad. It's just funny. Like, she's kind of lost in a bit.
Yeah, just a little. Yeah. So on top of that, critics have not enjoyed her most recent music. Her most recent album, Madame X, has been heavily criticized. A Ringer article said, from the perspective of your average millennial or much younger willing to take the plunge with the new Madonna album on Spotify, it's hard to interpret that early double shot of uncut wackiness as anything other than an attempt to clear the room of all 100 people at once.
I think the phrase uncut wackiness really just sums up this whole episode. Because that's what it is.
Yeah. So that's where she's at. I just want to touch again on her legacy. So a New York Times article is really good. It covered her whole life for her 60th birthday. And it said, in a career spanning 4 decades, Madonna made real cultural change and caused a few cultural crises over and over again. For all the criticism she's weathered during 4 decades in the spotlight, she deserves a celebration. Madonna's ability to transform herself for albums, videos, photo shoots, tours, and movies made her a master of perpetual transformation. As she rolled from one aesthetic to the next, switching up her hair, her choreography, her accent, it became shorthand to describe what was happening in one word: reinvention. So, I mean, it's no secret. She had 38 top 10 hits on the Billboard 100 singles chart. The only person that is behind her on that, she's the highest person with that of all time. The Beatles are behind her with 34 top 10 hits.
Whoa.
So she's had the most of all time. Her overall ticket sales have passed $1 billion. That happened 8 years ago, and I'm sure it's improved even since then. She has a net worth of over $800 million to make her the richest recording artist ever. Now, as far as the way she views her legacy and longevity, she said, "I like to compare myself to other kinds of artists like Picasso. He kept painting and painting until the day he died. Why? Because I guess he felt inspired to do so. Life inspired him, so he had to keep expressing himself, and that's how I feel. I don't think there's a time, a date, an expiration date for being creative. I think you go until you have nothing else to say."
Wow.
Which is very
mic drop moment right
very
there.
profound. Someone else also commented on her success and said, "She's certainly not outstanding natural talent. As a vocalist, musician, dancer, songwriter, actress, Madonna's talents seem modest." He asserts Madonna's success is in relying on the talents of others, and that her personal relationships have served as cornerstones to the numerous reinventions in the longevity of her career. So there's a lot of debate about it and like what actually made her super successful, because a lot of people agree that she's not the most talented person in the world.
Yeah. It's not one thing.
It's not one thing. And I think
a lot of factors
that's why she has stayed so relevant. Now, the last thing that I will say is she has been studied, as I mentioned briefly, but it's like legit, like academic people in the academia world, they have studied her to see why she became such a cultural phenomenon. And one person said, "Madonna's celebrity is unique in that it seems to depend as much on repugnance as on acceptance. Her fame frame, unlike that of most other megastars, rests very much on people who love to hate her, while monitoring her every move, and on others who hate to love her, as well as on the traditional adoring fans. Perhaps it's not surprising that even academics are doing a brisk trade in Madonnaology."
I didn't get to take that class in college.
I know. They didn't offer that at school. It's weird. So, Kate, as a feminist icon, fashion icon, gay icon, pop icon, cultural icon, sex symbol, you name it, biggest pop star in the world, I ask you, is Madonna the worst?
No. I mean, okay, I didn't know that she was so young when she started her career. Like, and not only like starting her career, but getting famous so young in her early 20s. And that quote that you said about, you know, creativity doesn't have an expiration date, that gave me goosebumps. That is so true.
Yeah.
So there's clearly a lot of debate about, was it just for publicity? How much, I mean, was she really that talented? Like, I don't think it's a matter of how talented she is. I think she's just like a creative person at heart. And came through a lot of tragedy, and then getting so famous so young, that's gonna mess you up no matter what.
Yeah, agreed.
So do not like the stuff with her thinking she's better than, and the stuff with the adoption is very troubling.
Agreed.
And I don't want to excuse her behavior for that, but I think there are definitely creatives who are worse in this case.
I agree. I've never particularly cared for her. I just didn't know much about her, and when I did see her on interviews and stuff, I was like, no, this doesn't vibe with me. My mom can't stand her. So that probably contributed to my dislike, and I honestly felt the same way after I did this. I respect her, and she broke so many barriers for females and stands up against sexism, stands up against ageism, doesn't give a shit that she's 60 years old and still relevant. But the whole controversial stuff and the Dennis Rodman stuff and the adoption, it's
bizarre. It's bizarre,
and it's unnecessary to me. Like that one quote, I don't feel as strongly as that person did, but you're doing that instead of making actual creative stuff. You know, you're getting attention for that stuff when you really don't need to be, because you are talented and you are making enjoyable music that people love. So
she is talented, yeah.
It's just, I don't vibe with that. That's just me, though. I don't like people that are so over the top.
Yeah, certainly have a new respect for her that I never had
Absolutely.
before. Same. And growing up, I knew, like, all of her music videos and stuff like that, like, we weren't allowed to watch that, so I knew it was taboo. Didn't really understand why, but yeah, new respect for her. Interesting to see what she will do next. You know, it doesn't sound like she's stopping anytime soon.
She's Picasso, of course not.
Sure.
So if you disagree with us and think she is a for sure worst on our list, let us know at podcasts@designpickle.com. And just a reminder, this is all our opinion. And if you have differing opinions, we'd love to hear from you. It's all based on our research. As I mentioned at the top of the episode, there is so much about her. So if there's a story that we missed or a controversy that we missed, let us know that too.
Well done, Jess. So
I'm exhausted.
Thank you. I bet. I need to go take a shower. So thank you all for listening. Be sure to tell your friends about this podcast because we're coming out with some cool stuff. Obviously, I mean, I don't know who's cooler than Madonna. We'll find out. So stay tuned, subscribe, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to Creatives Are the Worst.
If you like what you're hearing, or if you think that we're the worst, please leave us a review on your podcast platform of choice. We'd love to hear from you.
You can also contact us directly at podcasts@designpickle.com, and a big thanks to Design Pickle for sponsoring the show.
Join us next week as we once again try to answer the question, are creatives the worst?